4 Squad podcast. We are just a bunch of bros drinking beer and watching movies and TV. I am your host, Jeff Hornacek. Thank you guys for checking us out. This is our review of True Detective Season 3, Episode 3, titled The Big Never. I am here with the mad scientist, Brian Banner, and our enforcer in the paint, Matt Geiger, to review this episode as we do all of our TV episodes on the 4 Squad criteria: the acting, the story, our favorite scene, and any theories or questions we have going forward. And that part alone, I think, is worth the listen, because True Detective, it's fucking back. It's official. So before we dive into everything, Banner, why don't you just get us started with your thoughts on acting a cast, and we'll go from there.
So I'm sure we'll talk about him because I think every road is going to end up leading to Mahershala Ali. But I'm really digging his wife, Amelia, played by Cameron Ejago. Is that right?
Pretty sure.
I don't know her personally, but I'm comfortable saying yes.
Okay. She really got to show us what she's made of. And her chemistry, or lack thereof, if you will, depending on how you want to look at it, with Mahershala Ali, especially in this episode, really came out in the two different timelines. Especially, I was really, really digging her and what she did. She really got to flex her muscles, and we'll get into a little bit more of what she did. But her performance, I thought, was a standout in this episode.
Yeah, she has. It's really weird because her character so far, I think, has evolved the most from 80s to 90s that we've seen.
Yeah,
because
her
in the
hair
80s,
is like a foot longer than it was in the.
Well, I didn't mean that's not what I meant. But
she's why Banner has the best marriage out of any of us. He notices a new haircut.
She's like, "Oh, babe, new haircut." She's like, "Actually, yes." Fuck, how do you? I'm just gonna start guessing that. And she's
your
like,
marriage is so strong. Good for you.
Do they get mad if you guess wrong on the haircut, or is it just worth throwing up a Hail Mary every time?
It's worth it. It's worth it.
All right, Geiger, what do you got for acting cast?
You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
I'll take Scoot McNairy, Jeff, for 100. I liked him in the first 2 episodes. The dad in this, he's also in Batman vs Superman. He's the paraplegic. I'm glad they're adding layers into these characters, meaning that we saw him in the 90s time zone, where he
found Jesus.
Yeah, he found Jesus, recovering alcoholic, and I would love to see the prequel to that story, which I hope we get in the 70s time zone here in a couple episodes, where he just fucking hits the wall and starts drinking and goes fucking insane, because that dude's actually a pretty good actor. I've seen a couple things he's in, and I think he fits this role perfectly. But that scene with him and the other detective was very well done, and it shows that I guess they had a pretty good friendship, which we haven't really seen very much. Scoot hasn't really paid any attention to the detectives other than bitching about, why aren't you out trying to find my daughter in the 70s time zone? But it seems that he kind of gets close to both of them at the end of it, or that's what I kind of took away from the 90s scene that we got on this one. But he's shine brightest for me. Obviously, we can't pick Mahershala Ali every fucking week.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of implicit that Mahershala Ali is like a standout.
Yeah, he's like LeBron James. We just can't give him MVP every year, but we all
LeBron James is my MVP. Thanks, Steve A. That's really insightful on your behalf. That scene with Scoot McNairy and Stephen Dorff is the one I want to talk about, because Stephen Dorff was the guy for me. He's like the role player who really stood out in episodes 1 and 2, and he just continued to bring it here. I love Roland's. He had a really good quote in this episode where he talked about his relationship with Hayes, and he's like, "No, I mean, I haven't seen him in 10 years, but we didn't have a falling out." And then he even asked him to be part of his task force. And Hayes is a little bit apprehensive, I think, because he's like, "Dude, I got in so fucking deep 10 years ago. What's going to happen now?" Especially with the fingerprints. He's like, "I'm a little worried at how intrigued I am." So Dorff had 2 of, I think, the coolest dialogues and conversations in this episode. One with McNairy, like you mentioned, the Purcell's dad. And the other one was that scene with Hayes. The other thing I'm really interested on, and we can get into this a little bit in theories, but I can't remember the character's name, but Stephen Dorff mentions that his wife has passed away, and it almost seems like she's been dead for several years. So I wonder if...
Yeah, it was a couple of years, I think, is what he said. It's been 2 years since she passed away or something like that. Okay. Definitely a heroin overdose, right?
I was going to say, if Vegas was taking bets, I mean, that wouldn't be a big payout, right? That's where all the money would be.
Well, I think that's where the body was found, was Vegas, if I wasn't mistaken.
Oh, he did say that.
He did say that, actually.
I'm sure she was there on a work conference, definitely not stripping or anything.
Yeah, I'm sure she just got, in a plane crash on the way. It's not like she was hooking out there and maybe got killed by a pimp or anything.
A lot of pharmaceutical rep conferences are held in Vegas, Geiger, if you didn't fucking know. All right.
One thing I want to talk about here, because I don't know where else it'll fit, is was anybody else completely shocked when that 90s timeline, we were going to get other characters like Steven Dorff, and we were going to get the dad, and we're getting a little bit more of Amelia, the mom. Is anybody else like, I don't know, maybe I'm just too fucking stupid to watch this show, but I was like, holy shit, other people are alive in this timeline also? We're getting their story too?
Wait until we get Steven Dorff in present day, because I think that'll happen too.
I think that's the cool thing about present day. They're kind of keeping all the characters' end fate a secret. They've referenced a few like kind of minor ones, but so far all we've really gotten is Hayes. I mean, and really no true allusion to anyone's end fate. So everyone, like, if you had the board right now of possible suspects who's still alive, all those guys, that's kind of the intrigue, right? Is how the fuck do all these people's stories end up? Because they get more and more intriguing every single episode. That kind of ties us right into the story and the plot. This is a compliment to the show in the highest regard, but this was about as slow an episode of True Detective as you're going to get, and there were still pretty riveting moments. Geiger, I think you'll get to one in your best scene, but I guess we'll just go to you now. What did you think about the story plot here? It felt more like we were setting up a few dominoes to start to knock down the next couple weekends.
Every single series has this episode. I call it a build-up episode, where basically nothing really happens. You don't leave on a cliffhanger. You technically don't learn anything more than what you learned the previous week, but they're building a lot of stuff around the characters where they're going to just give you about 3 or 4 holy shit moments, and it all starts with this build-up episode. They're one of my favorite episodes because it just gives us time to kind of breathe, watch it. Like you said, it's kind of boring, but it gets your wheels turning, and you see a bunch of different sides of these characters that you're thinking, okay, that person that I think is good might not be all good. The person that you think has dementia, which I'll get to in a second, might not have dementia. So there's a lot to this episode that it's hard to really touch on right now, just because we haven't seen any more episodes, but this is a straight build-up episode, and I actually liked it better than the first 2 episodes, just because I think this is an episode you'll come back to and watch. A lot of these characters, especially as Banner touched on, you see them in different time zones, and I don't know, man, there's a lot of things that I thought about certain characters that now I'm wondering, like, I think that Marshall Ali's wife isn't all good. I think she might have went off the deep end here in a little bit, and I thought she was basically saving grace to him, behind every man there's a great woman. I'm not so sure about that, but I like this episode, but yeah, it's slow. There wasn't much action.
Yeah, her and Hayes' relationship I think it's going to get very, very complicated soon. And it's going to make sense why.
It's going to get violent, I think.
Yeah.
It's going to make sense why in 2015 things are so fucked up between them and their kids, and like what actually happened to Rebecca. And a nice little red herring with I don't want to get too far ahead of us, but with Rebecca in this episode where you think we see what's going to happen to sort of bridge that gap to 2015, but it wasn't to be. So the only thing I'll say is, so we know that Priscilla's mom is dead in 1990. Julie still isn't found in present day, which was alluded to, which kind of bums me out at first, but then I think, okay, the reason they have that timeline is they have to resolve something, right, in 2015. And the biggest thing we got, I think, from the story was the reveal of that brown sedan and the African-American guy with a scar that the documentary host gave to Hayes. So I'm assuming all these things, kind of like Geiger said, good shows take their time and have these episodes where nothing's going to sprout or blossom, but they're planting seeds.
This is where they start dropping the breadcrumbs.
Right. They're leading us somewhere, and I'm going to James Woods it, ooh, piece of candy. Ooh, piece of candy, and just pick them up along the way. Banner, what do you got?
Again, the build-up episode is the one where 3, 4, 5 episodes, even right after the finale, you sit back and you go, where did all of this start? Breaking Bad, I think, is probably the best show on television ever to do this with the build-up episode. And it's really, like Geiger said, it's really hard to judge this episode until after we've seen more and we understand the whole story. But this is the episode that we're going to go back, and this is the make or break episode. You go back to it and you go, holy fucking shit, this is where all of that started. And I think that they're going to do a very good job. I also love how much of the 90s timeline we got. The first 2 episodes really focused on the 70s timeline, the very early one. This one, we now know with 100% certainty that Hayes and Amelia are married. They have kids. And I absolutely loved, and we'll get into this in a minute, but their dynamic, how shit is already fucked up and they're trying to not be fucked up, but there's no way around it. It's going to be fucked up. They're both too entangled with this Purcell story. And then
as we expected, I think this case is going to tear them apart.
It is 100%. And I still stand by, I think she is deceased in present time.
Oh, yeah.
And I, like you, was very disappointed whenever we found out that Julie still wasn't found. But like you said, we have to have a present timeline for something. It can't just be because they're filming a fucking Dateline.
Before we move on to best scene, do you guys have a favorite of the 3 timelines?
I like the 90s, but I can't really get to it till I get to theory.
Okay. Yeah, I think I like the 90s too, but check with me again next episode. It could be either one because it's a close race right now.
I agree. I think the 90s, like the 70s one is the build up. That's how we get there. The present day is the aftermath. The meat and potatoes of when shit goes down is the 90s timeline. And I'm really excited to see way more of that.
In the 70s, every time that Roland and Hayes go to the Purcell's house, I'm just like so locked in. I'm like, what are they going to fucking find this time? Because every time I'm like, dig through their shit again. You'll find something else. And that moves us on to best scene. Banner.
My best scene is when Hayes and his kids go to Wal Mart. And that's when Amelia is in Sallisaw, Oklahoma, trying to get information from the cops. And he ends up losing his daughter. His daughter walks off, or she gets one of those free sample things from Sam's.
Isn't that what she actually said? They were giving out like free samples.
Yeah, they were giving out like, it was like a Lunchable sample or something. But
Lunchables.
That scene, you were like, okay, he is super fucked up from this Purcell case because he lost his daughter. He can't find the daughter. He just found out that the daughter's still alive, or possibly they found her prints. And then it immediately turns around where Amelia comes home and she's drunk, but she's like, no, I got all this great stuff for the book.
She was tipsy.
Maybe. She could still drive. It was fine. And he's just sitting there drinking that Jack and like, look, you're fucked up. Get away from me. Like, do you only care about your book, or do you care about the livelihood of this child or justice for these kids?
How relatable was it, though, for any couple ever? Hayes almost lost his daughter at Walmart, and he just takes it out on her and gets super pissed off. Like, I'll stub my toe and take it out on someone near me just as easily. Geiger, how about you for best scene?
Mine's the same scene, but for a totally different reason. And it's because if you listened to us last week, one of my theories is that Ali's daughter gets taken too by the same person that took the other girl. So a sick part of me was cheering while that was happening. I'm like, don't close the doors, Walmart. Let them out. Just let the girl get taken.
Yeah, you close those doors, we're losing money.
I was like, there's people wanting in here, get the special. And I had to go take a long look in the mirror. I'm like, do you really want a child to be abducted just so you're right on your podcast? And then once the answer was yes, I have some sick demons in me, Jeff. I probably need fucking counseling.
I was kind of hoping the same thing.
I was like, damn, I'll be right next week. That's awesome. I could shove it down Banner's fucking throat. And then she was found. I'm just like, shit.
Well, fucking kids.
But yeah, everything, it was well acted. And if you've ever been a parent, or even if you, I remember when I was a kid, my parent would be like, don't do that. You scared me. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about? I just walked over here. It's not my fault you're not paying attention.
Exactly. I wanted to read this coloring book.
Very well directed and very well acted. I was upset. I came in on the short end.
The tension in that scene was like out of this world. That's what True Detective does best.
Yeah.
I was actually pretty surprised that she wasn't missing, but maybe that's just because this show just has me in such a mind fuck right now.
It's too early in the season for her to already go missing.
Yeah, which is actually crazy, man. Next week is basically the halfway point, which sucks. I don't want this thing to end. Not that we're that close, but it's flying by. My favorite scene was once again the way that they ended the episode. To me, it felt like almost a Tarantino scene in the sense that I wanted it to be 45 minutes long of them talking, but it was Roland and Hayes at the bar when they clearly haven't seen each other in several years, and Roland shows up and Hayes is like a few sheets to the wind, and so he's just fucking gonna say anything to him. But you can tell that their relationship is so battle tested that a few off the cuff remarks and a little bit of animosity here and there is not going to do anything to rattle them. And at the end of the day, it's like let's get the old band back together and fucking find Julia Purcell is how the episode ends. And I was like, let's go. Even though we've never actually seen them separated because they're still together in the 70s or 80s timeline. I can't exactly remember the time frame there. It still just felt cool to see Stephen Dorff's character Roland in the position of power he's in now as lieutenant, and he goes and basically like Nick Saban recruiting like a 5-star athlete. He's like, I have a ringer that I can go get for this task force, and it's Purple Haze. So that scene to me was like, oh fuck yeah, the band's back.
They did a very good job of showing us, not telling us what happened in between the two timelines.
Yeah. If nothing else, I mean, right now I think it's the most compelling. That being the 90s timeline. But at the end of the day, it really could just be the connective tissue between the start of the case and the resolutions. And if that's what it does end up being, they're still doing an incredibly job of keeping me interested, because if done wrong, that could be boring as hell and feel really unnecessary, but it doesn't at all.
Real quick, honorable mention, we alluded to this earlier. When Roland and the Daddy Purcell were talking at his house and he asked him to pray, and he goes, nope, only drinking coffee, and he's got that old-ass coffee machine. Honorable mention for great scene as well.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good scene.
Absolutely. All right, my favorite part of the review, theories or questions going forward. I have a couple written down. Geiger, we'll let you go first on this one, just boomerang it back around. What do you got?
So I'm glad your favorite scene, Jeff, was Roland and Hayes at the bar. And there's a reason Roland asked Hayes to be part of his task force. It's not because Hayes is such a great detective. In my opinion, the first question of this series is the girl found? Now, we already know, or we think we know, that she wasn't found, and we think that we found her with the fingerprints in the 90s timeline. However, I believe in the 70s timeline they find her. And I believe that they don't bring her home for a reason. And I think there's a conspiracy, and Hayes is part of it. I think Roland's part of it. I think the dad's part of it. And if you listen closely, and I might have been mistaken, but I swear to God I'm not, Hayes says that his wife was a great author, a great novelist, a great teacher, and a great detective. And I think his wife becomes a detective and figures out why they never brought her home and they always knew where she was at. And I think basically this whole 90s timeline is Hayes and Roland are just covering their fucking tracks so they don't go to jail. I think they know where the girl is. I'm sorry, I don't have a reason why they don't bring her home. If you check out our first review on episodes 1 and 2, I believe it was Banner thinks that they did it so someone could get elected.
That was me, I think, yeah.
Okay, that was Jeff? Okay.
I'm off that theory now, though.
Okay, it might be that, but I think there's a big conspiracy theory. I think they find her in the 70s, and they don't bring her home for some reason, and now they're like, shit. Like, if they find this girl now and she talks, we're all fucked because we know where she's at. And we know who took her, but we're not going to do it for some reason. But I think there's a huge conspiracy here, and I think that's why Ali's wife's dead. I think he might have killed her because she knew too much when she became a detective. That's my theory of the
That's
week.
ballsy, and I like it in week 3.
I don't trust anyone. My wife just walked in. I think she might have taken the girl. I don't fucking know. Everyone's obsessed with now. I don't
Does
even
she have an alibi in 1980? I don't think so.
No.
So this isn't really a theory, but Hoyt Foods is going to somehow be related. They wouldn't just show all of that and the connective tissue of her mom for no reason. I just don't know how. Are they running a human trafficking ring? Are they involved with the same pedophilia sex cult from season 1? Which, by the way, I thought this was like
one can only hope. One can only hope they are.
Banner, before I toss it to you, I was so disappointed in this when I first looked it up. So this season starts, or the most recent timeline is 2015. And the whole time I was thinking, why not make it 2018? Like, why are they going with 2015? And then I was like, holy shit. When did season 1 of True Detective come out? 2015. And I went back and checked, but even the most recent or like the modern day quote unquote parts of that season are set in 2012. So unfortunately, I mean, it's just a few years after, but I was really, really fucking hoping that this would be set, at least the future timeline, concurrent with season 1.
Yeah, they
It's
could
not.
have connected it to like the Dateline documentary or some shit.
Yeah.
It
Even-
connects, I think. I'm pretty sure it connects to season
Yeah.
1.
They've overtly mentioned that like the pedophilia sex ring has been uncovered, so there could be some minor connection, or maybe we'll even get like a big character. I don't know. I still don't have any information to even formulate something educated on that. Banner, what do you got? And then, because I got a few, but I want to get you in here first.
Yeah, I still think something tragic happened or happens to Amelia, and possibly even their daughter. Geiger, I kind of like your theory of, I don't know if Hayes would have been the one that kills her, but maybe something that his actions, or because of his actions, that causes their death. So maybe he blames himself in the 2015 timeline. Something to that nature happens. Again, the way that Hayes freaked out whenever he lost his daughter in Wal Mart, to me, that's a little funky. It's a little fishy. Why did he freak out that bad? Why was it?
It was weird.
It was. I'm not going to say it was overreacted, because anytime you lose a child or think you lose a child, you're supposed to act that way. But the way that he reacted and the way that his actions, there's something else going on. He knows some shit. He's seen some shit. And Geiger, your theory of,
Maybe someone's gunning for him.
yeah, maybe they're going in for him, or he knows something more than what we know at this point, is 100% plausible.
Also, real quick, once he realized Rebecca was missing, the way he fucking took off and ran away from his son, I was like, bro, that's a pretty quick way to lose 2 kids.
Yeah, no shit.
Like,
Like,
Yeah,
keep an
but
eye
if
on
your
that
son
one.
is Ray Fisher, I mean, his biceps are like fucking huge, so he's gonna.
Yeah,
be
but he's
fine.
only 8 right now. He's not
That's
able
fine.
to be. He's not half
but
cyborg.
if 90s movies taught us anything, an 8-year-old that knows karate can beat the fuck out of a grown 40-year-old man.
That's true. That's tried and tested.
Also, another thing that I just really, really enjoyed was the bag of toys that they found with the Transformers and the Beast War toys,
Yeah.
the dice game, the little Han Solo and Leia. I literally had that Han Solo and Leia till like, I don't know, I was 20 when I lost them.
Well, now you're a suspect. So good job.
Can I just one more thing on, especially go back to best scene? Whenever he I'm gonna call it a hallucination of his wife when he was in current day, when his wife
Yeah.
came.
Yeah.
I have a question about that too.
Can I just bring up one other thing too? And I guess this is kind of a theory. Did anyone else get a Fight Club feel off that? Like
Little
maybe he's not just him. He's a couple people, or maybe Edward Norton and Brad Pitt are the same people. Maybe Marshall Ali is another person in this.
Well,
I know that's way out there, but
here's my question on that. I have a couple questions here. Really no theories from this episode, just things that I want to see what you guys think. So in that scene, we're assuming it's the ghost of Amelia or something, because clearly she's probably dead in
Yeah.
present day. I
And
think they
she's
might be-
younger in that scene than
Right.
we would
Yeah.
expect her to look in 2015.
So what did she mean by the quote to Hayes where she said, "Are you afraid they're going to find out what you left in the woods?"
see, that's why I think that why she died is because she knows where the girl is at. She knows who
Right.
took him, and so does Ali. But Purple Haze basically can't say it for some fucking reason. They have something over his head, and she knew too much.
And is that like, did he uncover something in one of his 2 trips into the woods that we've seen that wasn't shown on camera? Like, was there more to it when he found Will? I don't know. But clearly there was something that he found in the woods at some point that either his inner conscience or like the ghost of Amelia, quote unquote, is saying like, that if people figure out you left that there, you're fucked. And we have no idea what it is. I didn't know if you guys had a question. All right, another question I have. So the garbage man, the Native American guy, he gets the shit beat out of him by the rednecks, which you kind of see coming. Who or what was in that duffel bag? Is it one of his kids? Is it his ex-wife? Is it not a person at all? It kind of looked like a person.
Oh,
but-
it's definitely a fucking person.
The way he picked it up looked like a dead weight, dead body. It
Yeah.
really did. I think that'd be a dead giveaway though, but dude, who knows? I don't know.
Okay, could that be the boy?
The
It
boy's
could,
body
but
has to be at the government somewhere.
Oh
or
yeah,
the
that's right.
police.
They already found
They're
his body,
not.
and I really don't think he's involved. I could be wrong, but I really don't think he's involved. I think he is going to die because the redneck people in the town think he is.
Could
and
he be involved in the season 1 timeline? It could still be a child.
Very possible. Very possible. Remember, a lot of the guys there worked like grounds crew or like facilities at school, so maybe he did that at some point.
I
don't
love
know.
when the townspeople just came and kicked the shit out of him. Like, why not just wear a red Magna hat and smirk in his face? That'll piss him off even more than
And then he is kind of, dude, I know how to fight a little bit, and he's like, I could probably only beat the shit out of like 3 of you, not 6.
Yeah.
But he got a few good licks in. 2 other questions I have. So when they go to that farmhouse, right, where the guy clearly saw the brown sedan that I'm going to ask my last question about, the guy mentions the farmer they go interview. Yeah, someone already came here with a suit, and he showed me a badge, and he was asking me a bunch of questions.
FBI.
Who the fuck was? But
I think the killer is. I think the killer is disguising himself as a cop.
Or is the killer a cop?
Hold on. Did he mention whether the race of the guy in the suit?
I think he said he was white, but I could be wrong.
Could that be McConaughey and or Woody Harrelson?
Wow. Very fucking true. Jesus Christ, Banner.
Whoa.
Was that right off the cuff, or did you have that
Off
written
the
down?
fucking cuff.
He didn't even have that written down.
Nope. Look at my
My
notes.
God.
It's blank. I got no
You're out of-
notes.
You're out of
Hey,
control.
did you see a little girl walk through here?
We're looking for a little girl. That was my Harrelson. It was really rough. I've never tried that before. Maybe he'll host the Oscars this year.
Maybe Denzel will be on. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, maybe.
All right, and then my last one, and this is, I think, related to the last question I had. So clearly, present day. Remember, my theory last week was that the true crime documentary is fake. It's a method to jog Hayes' memory, or it's part of an ongoing investigation. Well, now that looks even more plausible because it appears that she knows his son, or they have a relationship with each other of some sort, and she pretty much explicitly throws new evidence in his face. That there was neighbors who were interviewed at the time of the incident when the Purcells went missing that said they saw a brown sedan that was being driven by an African American with a scar, and those leads were never followed up on. So what the fuck happened with that? Did they actually give those interviews to cops? Did Hayes know about it and didn't do anything about it? Is there a crooked cop in the force, or is there a fake cop or someone else interviewing them? Is that even real? I mean, there's a lot of ways we could go with this, right? Any theories?
I can see a scene where Hayes comes home after a long, hard day in the 70s, and he looks in the mirror and he takes off some type of skin on his face, and he actually has a scar under there, and it was him.
Yeah, I don't. The brown sedan, you know that we're going to see it in some episode, and I'm just going to start freaking out.
Yeah.
I think that this African American with the scar is Amelia's brother. And she is somehow involved in the murders as well.
Wow. And now she's profiting off it with the fucking book.
Mm-hmm. Double dipping.
There we go. All right.
What
you guys
better
have anything
way
else?
to get involved than to fuck the detective?
The only other thing is this book makes no sense to me because we don't know the ending, so I don't understand why a book of a child just getting abducted would have anyone read it. There's got to be some twist into it that we haven't got yet, but the twist is already done in the 90s because she's already won an award for it. So
Yeah, and the other thing I don't know, is it a nonfiction book, or did she write like a story inspired by this, or was it like the inner workings of the case because my husband was the lead detective?
It's supposed to be it's called like the Harvest Moon or something like that, but the kids were taken like kind of during the day, so I don't know. There's a lot more to the 70s story for sure, because that book makes no sense to me. There's the story of the 70s so far would not be a book at all. It's just like a child, I guess, got abducted or killed in the woods. We don't know where the other one's at.
Right. Damn. All right, guys. For the mad scientist Brian Banner and our enforcer in the paint Matt Geiger, we have been the Bro4 Squad podcast. That was our recap of True Detective Season 3, Episode 3. Thank you guys for checking us out. Please give us your comments below, because what's the point in talking about this if we don't get your guys' theories and opinions? Subscribe to us on iTunes, YouTube, and Spotify. You can find us there, Bro4 Squad, 3 words. Check out all of our reviews on Letterboxd. Follow us on Twitter at Bro4 Squad, and check out everything that we do on our website, bro4squad.com. Till next time, I'll see you later. How unsafe are Wal Marts, just in general?
Superstores are even worse.
Jesus. Yeah, that was. I don't think that was a super
No,
show.
that was old school.
They didn't have to.